Mitrovam and Bandhuvam, welcome to South Asia Maps Intellectual Kshatriya channel, education channel where your presenter Dr. J. Reddy will bring you Indology, centric history, geography and culture south of Karakoram Mountains, north of Kanyakumari, west of Kamarupa in Brahmaputra Valley, Ahoms region, and east of Kalat in Balochistan. And I will also be posting, in addition to South Asian related topics, general global history and economy, and this particular presentation is from our playlist, a part of the playlist, Human Ecology, how humans live in the planet Earth, everything related to humans in the habitat, global environment, how they interact among themselves with others with abiotic environment, that is human ecology. And human predicament that we face today with depleting global resources and 8 billion, that is 8,000 human population. We are now going through the bottleneck century of human impasse predicament. That's what Dr. Catton delineated in his monumental pioneering book called Overshoot and Bottleneck. The present topic is LLM, the Liebig's law of minimum, or simply law of minimum, bottleneck law. We are applying to carrying capacity, its adjustments, expansion and contraction, scope expansion, scope and contraction. The Liebig's law I discussed in 3 parts. The first part, just the law itself along with Liebig's barrel made with wooden planks or staves. Second part, we discussed how this LLM, the law of minimum, can be applied to carrying capacity, that is the maximum indefinitely supportable human load population on the planet Earth. That is the part 2. That is the law plus CCP. Third part, we are talking about the law plus CCP adjustments. So this is a very fascinating 3-part story of Liebig's law. Carrying capacity is the maximum indefinitely supportable load on the habitat. That's a very big technical word. That is nothing but how many people a habitat. It can be a district or a province or a state like United Province Uttar Pradesh or Texas, or a country or even the planet Earth can support. CCP is the number of people supportable indefinitely. That is the carrying capacity. Previously we discussed about the cumulative carrying capacity between the region A, if the region B, if we make the trade relations, the composite carrying capacity or cumulative carrying capacity of the both habitats, both regions, both states, countries will be greater than the sum of the individual carrying capacities. Now we talk about the scope adjustment and scope alteration. This is Dr. Catton and his monumental pioneering book published by University of Chicago around about 1982. The next book, Bottleneck. And this is my YouTube channel, South Asia Maps, and there are more than 30 playlists you can see there, and fascinating topics, and more than 250 or 60 presentations. You can look at them, and this is my the Twitter handle, that is India Maps 2. You can also go and look at them if you feel further interest. And carrying capacity adjustments, that is the part 39. The law of minimum carrying capacity. See, originally the law was formulated by von Liebig, a German agricultural scientist or botanist, that is Justus van Liebig, around about 1863 or so on. And we can look at this globally, the globally least available resource and locally least available resource. If a resource is locally least available, take for example Australia doesn't have any oil, assume it cannot run any automobiles. Currently there are around about 20 million automobiles. How it is running means, imagine it is importing oil from Arabian Peninsula. Arabian Peninsula historically can support only 3 million people. Now there are 90 million people in Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, and trucial states, that is Abu Dhabi, so on, Bahrain, Qatar, and Kuwait, and all those countries, apart from Mesopotamia. That means the exchange based upon the carrying capacity can be extended to the trade relations. In modern economy, the commerce, transport, all depend upon the exhaustible relations, the trade relations that eventually will founder on the rock of resource depletion, resource exhaustion. That is nothing but Dr. Catton is talking about the fossils and minerals, most important fossils, the coal, natural gas, and oil. Earth's extended carrying capacity made Homo sapiens humans into resource-consuming, technically advanced societies of Homo colossus, gigantic humans, resource-consuming protocol. So, future depletion of these resources, exhaustion of resources can disrupt the social life and can lead to social catastrophe. Why this happens is due to carrying capacity contraction, carrying capacity expansion. Remember, carrying capacity is not just the people, it is the standard of living. Today there are around about in 2022 330 million people. They're not just, imagine if they're only simple farmers, agriculturalists consuming very basic minimum resources, food, living in villages. That is one type of carrying capacity. Now all of them drive in the automobiles, each person, right, there are 330 million people, there are around about 350 million automobiles, means the carrying capacity has much more load now. That also carrying capacity. The carrying capacity not just the food, it is your entire way of life, economy, and everything. Here Dr. Catton gives two different examples of the contraction expansion of the carrying capacity. Germany. Take for example Germany. German Empire existed from 1870 to the World War I, around about 45 to 50 years. Very prosperous country, had a trade relations with the neighbors, and also it has a colonies. Colonies are nothing but a form of ghost takeaway. These are the German Empire colonies in Africa. That is this is the West Germany, Northwest Germany, now called Namibia. Next to South Africa, Botswana. This is East Africa, Eastern Germany. That is Tanzania now. This is Cameroon. This is Papua New Guinea. This is the local German Empire. So, when it was defeated in the World War and Versailles Treaty was imposed after the World War, that means it got disrupted of its trade relations with the neighboring European countries, and also trade relations it has with the New World, the trade relations it has with the Oriental world, rest of the world. Because previously the prosperity of the country was dependent upon the trade relations, the economic relations, or ghost takerage coming abroad rather than the local territory, all of a sudden its economy collapsed. In addition, Versailles Treaty also imposed the reparations, means indemnity. The German population has to pay more money to the victorious allies. That also made the country go into economically poorer status. Because the country is very economically highly developed, culturally advanced, its population, instead of one species, even the Homo sapiens, you can think of quasi-speciation. They have the different economic niches, social niches, different types of occupations. All the organisms, humans, human animals living there, imagine, they all interacting with each other. They have a symbiotic relationship, living and running the economy. All the symbiosis depends upon the money. Money is a means of mutualism, exchange between these people, and symbiosis and medium of exchange. Once these economic relations imposed, economic sanctions, all those trade disruptions, carrying capacity got restricted. Now the LLM applied to locally instead of globally. So the large scale inflation occurred in the Weimar Republic and the economy totally collapsed. This is essentially to a certain extent due to carrying capacity contraction adjustment. This is not to say everything is due to only this. There are certain other reasons, but ecologically looking, this is the economic recession, is the collapse of mutualism mediated by the money. That money got the value less and less due to inflation, barrels of currency, so the economy collapsed. That is the Liebig's law of minimum applied to the carrying capacity adjustment. That is the scope contraction. Similar thing happened in the United States. So United States won the World War I, the victorious against the Kaiser Germany. They are very think their democracy won it. There was exuberance after the World War. They consumed a lot, start producing, and the stock market increased, buying all the stocks, and everybody thought they can become rich. Stocks were not brought because of the profit or dividend or inherent capacity, but speculators. When the stock market collapsed in 1929 during the time of President Herbert Hoover, that is before Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and banking system collapsed. Again, remember, this is a highly culturally well-developed country, advanced country. Even though Homo sapiens, Homo colossus lived there, think of them so many social, non-agricultural niches, quasi-speciation interacting with each other in a mutual way, symbiotic way. That interaction, mutualism, was mediated by money, the medium of exchange. When the stock market crashed in 1929-30s and the banks collapsed, money became very restrictive and its currency value reduced. So the country immediately went to recession. That means previously these human organisms or animals, quasi-species, depending upon the external, non-local carrying capacity, global carrying capacity, composite carrying capacity, the restrictions were applied broadly, globally, not locally. Once the trade relations, monetarily mediated mutualism collapsed, now CCP, minimum law was applied on the CCP locally. The contraction occurred, the country went to unprecedented economic recession and collapse. And today we are also essentially seeing the same thing. Even though people talk about economic recessions means the countries living globally and global carrying capacity contract, composite carrying capacity with a high standard of living. When that collapses due to whatever reason, that means now the law applies to the local CCP. They now has to live within their local carrying capacity, local restrictions with less resources, more of restrictions, less economic prosperity. So that's very, very important. You have to keep in mind. That's why Dr. Catton's pioneering work is a very, very prominent. A lot of people think most of our social events in the form of economic and politics, but what actually runs behind it is nothing but ecology. So I have put a lot of topics on that. You have to understand what is the carry. So there are nearly 38 or 39 so far I posted. I will post the rest of them very soon. So the carrying capacity, the taking over of the humans, the entire planet Earth, taking away their flora and fauna, taking their land for their own benefit, then drawing down after steam engine industrialization, coal oil discoveries, the drawing down the one-time resources, improved the phantom carrying capacity, not real, the old world concept, the new world, Homo colossus, Homo sapiens, ecological exuberance, leads to emotional social exuberance. Detritus is a decaying organic matter. Today's economy is mostly detritus-based ecosystem. That means it has the bloom and crash, eruption and collapse or contraction or die-off. Ecological ecarages, fossil ecarage and fuel ecarage, ghost ecarage, trade ecarages, carrying capacity, the real, how it differs from the ghost carrying capacity or phantom CCP. What are the various ecological niches, social niches, political niches, ecological overshoot, what does it mean? Today we are suffering with ecological overshoot. Ecological bloom is eruption, crash is a contraction, decrease in the number of the organisms in a particular area, such as humans or any other biotic organism. Diachronic competition, older generation stealing from the younger generation, cornucopian paradigm, old paradigm, and ecological, the modern paradigm that Dr. Catton advocates are formulated. These two paradigms compared. The hunters and gatherers, traditional before agriculture invented, the humans were hunters. Every day they have to go and hunt for a prey. If there is no prey, they go hungry, entire family or tribes for 2, 3, 4 or 1 week. Now the modern industrial societies are essentially hunters and gatherers, hunting for the coal, oil, fossil fuels, minerals, metals, today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Very fascinating. Part 28 I discussed about it. Population pressure, mice and humans, how humans adapt to the post-exuberant era, the era of prosperity for 500 years, that is 1500 to 2000. That is the realism, cargoism, cosmetism, cynicism, ostracism. All those things I discussed, and you can look at them in detail. I just briefed it for you overall. So that is in general about the important, fascinating Liebig's law of minimum. We applied to the human 38 part. Previously I talked about the human carrying capacity, the law, and now we discussed about the carrying capacity adjustments with reference to the Liebig's law. And see you later. This is your presenter, Dr. J. Reddy. And please, if you are listening me at Share Chat, take some time to post your comments. And if you like the presentations, I really appreciate you go and make certain comments, and also consider subscribing the channel and bringing to the more audience about this fascinating information of our intellectual Kshatriya channel. And see you later. Mitram and Bandhuvam at other time at South Asia Maps.